This broke just as we came on the air. U.S. just announcing new sanctions. CNN reporting the U.S. announced new sanctions Wednesday on Russian financial institutions and individuals, including Putin's 2 adult daughters, as it aims to increase economic pressure on Russia and Putin himself, following what happened in Bucha. The U.S. also announced sanctions on the wife and daughter of Putin's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov. With respect to Putin's daughters, apparently we believe that he's been hiding his assets with them. That's why they are being targeted. I don't know. Does that grab you as anything impressive?
Better than nothing, but for me, it tells that there was no, and still there is no strategy in confronting Putin regime. Strategy means you know the goal. So going back to Harry S. Truman or FDR or Ronald Reagan, you knew there was a strategy. They laid down the strategy and they tried to accomplish it by using various tools at their disposal. Right now, America is still struggling to identify the goal of the war in Ukraine. For me, it should be very clear. We have to do absolutely everything to make Ukraine win. And to recover its territory. That means that we have to provide Ukraine with any weapons they need to win the war. We're not doing that. And America is still, a stumbling block in this NATO coalition. And we have to declare that all sanctions that are being now imposed on Russia will not be lifted before Ukrainian territorial integrity has been fully restored, Crimea included. That's a message that will, I think, make a lot of people in Putin's entourage thinking hard about the future. As of now, we see measures, tactics. So sanctions, first package, second package, third package. It also tells us that all stories from the White House and the state that accompanied Biden's summits with Putin. And I say summits because one summit was in person in Geneva last June, but then there were 2 very lengthy calls on video calls that I would also qualify as summits. And we were told that these calls and these meetings, the conversations, they were used by Biden and his team to warn Putin against invading Ukraine. It seemed to me that Putin didn't listen, or he just had an impression that it was just all talk, hot air, and he attacked. And while Americans told the world and Ukrainians that they prepared some hellish sanctions, it seems to me that now it's 6 weeks of war, so they're still bringing one package after another. And as for military supply to Ukraine, we are way behind of the schedule that had to be met to make Ukrainians ready to repel Russian attacks and now to advance. And it's not just, it's Biden administration. It's easy to blame politicians. But we know that Biden administration followed the advice from Pentagon and CIA. American intelligence believed that the Kyiv would fall in 4 days, 96 hours. General Milley.
And it hasn't. It still hasn't.
Yeah, it hasn't. Yeah. But General Milley, in the beginning of February, testified before the House committee. It was a closed meeting, but now remarks have been publicized. He told American lawmakers that Ukrainian army would be destroyed in 3 days. Amazing.
Yeah.
And now amazing. General Milley is telling us that the war would go for years. By the way, this is the same Pentagon that failed in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. There was also it's unbelievable failure to evaluate the situation on the ground after so many years of being there. So I wonder, so for how long people that were so wrong recently and proved to be incapable of analyzing the information from the ground, from this most sensitive parts of the global conflicts, they are now they will continue giving advice to the administration, and also it's not only just about General Milley. It's about so many experts that were wrong all these years, and now they are criticizing not only myself but others who are advocating for more aggressive policy in Ukraine, support for Ukraine, saying that we're trying to push free world into the open conflict with Russia. Again, ignoring
can I
the
just say
fact
something?
that
So
their policies is just this embolden Putin to become more and more aggressive.
In your 2015 book, you were saying he's going to go back. He's going to invade Ukraine again. He's going, trust me, he's not done. And then you said, my detractors say the answer to my argument is, well, we don't want World War III. Which is exactly what we're hearing now, right? Like this. And I talked to the guys on the other side of you on this particular issue, not you personally, but your positions. And that is exactly what they're worried about. And I understand that concern. We don't want World War III. No one wants that. But you've been saying for a long time, people use that and it's a straw man, are getting more involved in Ukraine. And you're not talking about a full ground war with American, infantry on the ground in Ukraine, but something more militarily than we're doing. You're saying that will not lead to World War III. In fact, it will help stave it off.
Look, sanctions that are now being in place, same sanctions, maybe half of them 8 years ago would have changed the game. Sanctions should be preventive. That's the nature of sanctions. So you respond to some kind of aggression, and you do. Your response includes sanctions that will put a price tag on any further aggression. Unfortunately, when you look at Putin's aggression, the history of Putin's aggression, all the sanctions, they were reactive and they were very weak. Obama's bragging about American sanctions in 2014, 2015. I think he said, "Oh, Russian economy is in tatters now." Okay, give him a break. So Putin was laughing loud. So probably you could hear him laughing in the United States. My point was fairly simple. Either you have sanctions that could make the cost of aggression too high for Putin, or you help Ukraine to rearm, to give them weapons to defend themselves. Or you do both, but you will make clear to Putin that you're in the game, and that could have saved us from the disaster now. Now, that was exactly the argument you mentioned. Oh, you want us to be involved directly. It will drag us into World War III. The problem is the wars. If you go back to World War II, for instance, the wars with dictators began not because of the strengths of the free world, but the opposite. The war is a result of the miscalculation of a dictator who believes that he could move far without meeting adequate response. And that's why now we reached a point where we have to pay much higher price. And that's why those in Germany or in Europe who are saying, "Oh, we don't want to freeze. We can't afford a total embargo on Russian oil and gas export." Yes, but maybe you should recognize that it's your policy. 2 decades, Gerhard Schröder, then Angela Merkel, that made Germany dependent on Russian gas. And now maybe you have to suffer a little bit. Maybe you have to pay for your mistakes, for your willingness to do business with Putin, for your politicians insisting that having Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 would give Germany leverage over Putin, not the other way around. And now Ukrainians are paying in blood, in their lives.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.